Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargava, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. Over the past few days, the war in Ukraine has continued to escalate. On Sunday, for example, the Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered that the country's nuclear forces should be put on high alert. This gave rise to tensions that the crisis could lead to a full-blown nuclear war. But yesterday, that is on Monday, talks began between Ukraine and Russia at the Belarusian border, with Ukraine saying that its goal for the talks was an immediate ceasefire and the withdrawal of Russian forces from Ukraine. But despite this, shelling and bombing continued to take place across the country yesterday. These are the sounds that those in Ukraine can hear throughout the course of the day and late into the night. The Ukraine's health ministry had on Sunday said that over 350 civilians have been killed since the beginning of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now, during this crisis, thousands of foreign nationals have also been stuck in the country, including many from India. Some 20,000 Indians had been living in Ukraine. And so far, only 8,000 have managed to leave the country. This includes nearly 1,400 who were evacuated by the Indian government as part of Operation Ganga. But this means that some 12,000 students are still stranded in the country, a lot of them without any supplies or support from the Indian government. In this episode, we speak to 3 students who have been studying in Ukraine. The first 2 are those who are still stuck in the country and one who got evacuated. The first person is a third-year medical student named Anna, who at the time of this recording yesterday was in Kharkiv, the second largest city in Ukraine, which is about 40 kilometers away from the Russian border. Anna, where exactly are you right now?
Right now I'm in Kharkiv and in the metro station.
Oh, okay. And do you mind describing what the place looks like?
For the past 5 days, we've been in the underground metro station, and people are sleeping on the platform. We are sleeping on the floor. Very cold, actually. We don't have blankets. People don't have proper blankets. They're just sleeping on the floor. It's cold. It's almost minus 5 degrees or something today outside. So it's very cold inside.
And who all are, there with you right now?
I'm with some Indian friends. And there are localites here, civilians right here, Ukrainian civilians over here. Almost we're around 100, 200 people in the metro station.
Okay, and what have these past few days been like for you guys there?
It's been really hard on us, and for the past 3 days there's been continuous bombing and firing, and we could hear the vibration even inside. Normally we can't even hear the sound what's going on outside, but yesterday night we could feel the vibrations, and there are bomb blasts, they're dropping missiles, we can hear gunshots, and there's airstrike going on. We can see tankers moving around. The entire night there's shelling going on, and we don't have food and water. They don't provide us with anything. So it's very hard for us, and we've been suffering a lot. And there are kids over here who've been suffering. There are old people. There's no place to sleep. It's very cold over here.
And you mentioned kids. How old are they?
Maybe 5 months or 2 years. They're small, kids, actual kids. There's a pregnant woman also.
Oh wow. And you mentioned you don't have any food or supplies with you. How have you guys been managing?
We have a 1 day supply left with us. The day before yesterday, we went to the supermarket. It was open for 1 day, for some time actually. So we bought whatever was available to us. And there's a small water supply in the metro station, but there are so many people over here. So, it's a bit hard actually.
And have you been able to sleep through the night? Is that even possible?
No, maybe, and we just sleep for an hour or 2. And plus, it's so cold inside, we can't sleep actually.
Yeah. And have you been in touch with authorities? Has the Indian embassy tried to reach out to you? Have you heard anything from them?
We've not heard anything from them, but they're just issuing advisories. Yesterday, they issued an advisory which stated that Kharkiv, Kiev, and Sumy students should stay inside the metro stations until any further contact. But I think within a day or two, they might take us to Russia. I'm not sure about the news though, but we've been hearing things.
And you mentioned that you are there with some friends and some locals. What are the kind of conversations that you are having amongst yourselves?
Like we're just worried like about going back. We're just hoping that something happens like a miracle or something, and we just go back to India. And some people like don't have food actually, so we're just hoping that someone provides us food, someone comes to our rescue. That's all we are like talking about. We're just praying. We're just hoping.
And you mentioned that you have 1 day of supply left. What kind of food do you have with you?
Chips, biscuits, and chocolates.
And that's what you've been eating for the past few days?
Yeah, for the past 5 days.
And you guys have been switching off your phones, I understand. Is that essentially to save battery?
Yeah, because we can't go outside to the hostels. And like when we step outside, either we hear sirens or we can hear all these gunshots and sounds. So, it's scary to go outside. So we either switch off our phones to save battery, and also we are told to switch off our locations. We don't know the reason actually. We just hear announcements like this: switch off your phone, your data, your put on flight mode or off your location.
And have you been in touch with your parents? I'm guessing they must be worried sick.
Yeah, they're very worried actually, but yeah, we've been in contact with them.
And just before you go, is there anything you'd like to say to people and maybe even Indian officials who might be listening to this?
I just request that just evacuate as soon as possible, and I would like the Indians, the public, to support us and not to criticize us. Like it's really hard. Like we're already going through so much, but we've been criticized a lot for coming out and studying abroad. So I just want them to support us and not criticize us at this point.
Now, depending on where you are in Ukraine, the situation might be slightly different. Anna was in Kharkiv, in northeast Ukraine. But now we speak to someone who had been studying in Ternopil, which lies in western Ukraine, around 250 kilometers away from the Poland border. His name is Ashok, and he is a fourth-year medical student who, along with hundreds of Indians, has been stranded at the Polish border for the past 4 days, in the freezing cold of -5 degrees without any food or water left. He told us that the Indian embassy had asked them to reach the Polish border, but after arriving there, they have been stuck and no help is being provided to them. When he spoke to Ashok, he was in a rush and had less than 20% battery left on his phone.
3-4 दिन से सभी लोग पोलैंड बॉर्डर पर ही अटके हुए हैं। यहाँ पे माइनस में टेम्परेचर चल रहा है, स्नोफॉल हो रहा है, सभी लोग रोड पे पड़े हैं। कोई ना तो इंडियन एम्बेसी से है, ना किसी गवर्नमेंट से, ना यूक्रेनियन गवर्नमेंट से, ना टेंट लगी हुई है, कुछ भी नहीं। सभी रोड पे सोए हुए हैं क्योंकि पास में तो घास है दोनों तरफ, जंगल जैसा बिल्कुल रोड पे है। या तो कोई पेट्रोल पंप पे सोया हुआ, सभी ऐसे सोए हुए, बस खुले आसमान में, ना कोई चादर है, ना दरी नहीं है।
Ashok told us that women are getting priority to enter the Polish border. So while most of the girls have crossed over, some 200 to 300 boys are still stranded there.
ऑफिशियल सपोर्ट कोई नहीं है। आज जब मैं बोला गया था कि पोलैंड की तरफ से बसें आएगी, 2 बसें आई, कोई 20 स्टूडेंट लेके गई अभी तक। उसके अलावा बाकी और बसों का कोई ठिकाना नहीं है, अभी तक कोई बसें आई है।
और यहाँ आने से पहले क्या एडवाइजरी मिली थी आपको गवर्नमेंट से?
हमें इंडियन एम्बेसी से एडवाइजरी जारी हुई थी कि आप पोलैंड बॉर्डर, हंगरी बॉर्डर, स्लोवाकिया बॉर्डर यहाँ पे जा सकते हैं। उसी एडवाइजरी को सुन के उन्होंने बोला कि हम जो इस बॉर्डर पे हैं अभी, उस बॉर्डर पे पैदल जाने वालों को भी जाने देंगे, कोई बस वगैरह की जरूरत नहीं होती वहाँ पे। तो हम बस से आए थे, वो हमें बॉर्डर से 30 किलोमीटर दूर छोड़ के गए क्योंकि लंबा ट्रैफिक है अभी, क्योंकि यूक्रेनियन लोग भी मूव कर रहे हैं। 30 किलोमीटर सब लोगों ने वॉक करके बॉर्डर तक पहुंचे। बिल्कुल बॉर्डर का गेट से पहले भी लंबी लाइन है, 2-4 किलोमीटर की। वो लाइन भी हम सब क्रॉस कर रहे हैं। 2-2 दिन वेट करने के बाद लाइन से आगे पहुंच रहे, फिर वहां से आदमी वाले भगा दे रहे कि इंडियन बॉयज नॉट अलाउड।
इंडियन बॉयज नॉट अलाउड?
हाँ, इंडियन बॉयज को दे रहे, चलो जाओ वापस जाओ। उस लोगों के ऊपर या बॉयज के ऊपर तो उन्होंने अटैक भी किया, जैसे किसी को डंडे से मारा, किसी को गन के बैक पॉइंट से मारा, ऐसे।
तो वो इंडियन बॉयज के साथ क्यों कर रहे हैं ऐसा? मतलब क्या लगता है आपको?
हमारे हिसाब से हमें तो ये लग रहा है कि वो जो इंडिया का सपोर्ट रशिया की तरफ है, इसलिए बिल्कुल इंडियन को हेट ही कर रहे हैं। वुमन को प्रायोरिटी दे रहे थोड़ा, बाकी किसी को इतना कुछ नहीं मिल रहा।
He told us that they have no food supplies with them and that many students in the cold have been fainting, suffering from hypothermia, and a couple of African students had even passed away, he said, due to these conditions.
सोने का, खाने का, पीने का कोई इंतजाम नहीं है सर। बिल्कुल रोड पे हैं, काफ़ी बच्चों ने पानी तक नहीं पिया, काफ़ी बच्चे चक्कर खा के गिरे हैं। कुछ अफ्रीकन स्टूडेंट भी हैं जिनकी डेथ हो गई। कुछ लोग बेहोश हो जा रहे हैं, कभी-कभी ऐसे लेटे पड़े रहे, एक आधे घंटे बाद एम्बुलेंस को हम बुला रहे हैं इधर-उधर से। आर्मी वालों को बोल के तो बुला के भेज रहे हैं। सिचुएशन बहुत क्रिटिकल है क्योंकि ठंड से आधे लोग हाइपोथर्मिया की वजह से किसी का बेहोश हो रहे और ऐसे हो रहे हैं अनकॉन्शियस। क्योंकि -3 डिग्री, -4 डिग्री सबने जैकेट पहन रखे पर पैरों में, हाथों में, सर में तो ठंड लगी रही है। और जैकेट भी तो सर ठंडे हो जा रहे रात भर में तो क्योंकि खुली हवा में सो रहे। कुछ है ही नहीं, बिल्कुल रोड है। बॉर्डर भी ऐसा कि बिल्कुल रोड है, कोई टेंट शेल्ट कोई है ही नहीं कहीं पे भी।
तो ऐसी कंडीशंस में मतलब आप कैसे काट पा रहे हैं रात?
एक एक 2 घंटे बेटे सो रहे सभी लोग, एक दूसरे के सहारे बैठ के सो रहे हैं। बच्चे सब सामान लेके नहीं गए, दिक्कत ये होगी कोई कुछ भी लेके नहीं गए थे।
This right now is the experience of thousands of Indians who are currently stranded in Ukraine. No help from officials, constant and immediate threat to life, and supplies running out in freezing weather. Now, like mentioned earlier, the government has managed to evacuate 1,396 people in 6 separate flights. One of these lucky people to get evacuated was Tushar Madhu, a third-year medical student from Bangalore who had been studying in Chernivtsi, which lies in western Ukraine, just about 40 kilometers from the Romanian border. He arrived back at home on Sunday, which is when we spoke to him about how he got out. He began by telling us why he had chosen to go to Ukraine to study.
So I did my research on all the colleges. Initially, I was looking forward to going abroad to do my medicine because I tried getting some universities in India and it was kind of impossible. Then I figured, okay, which country do I go to? And Ukraine and the university I chose had the most ties with all international hospitals and universities for future MD and all of that. So I chose Ukraine for that reason. Plus, they have a good prospect of joining the EU in the future.
He had been there in Ukraine for the past 3 years and said that his batch in particular has been really unlucky.
Because I went there in 2019 and 2020, I was evacuated on Vande Bharat mission because of COVID-19. And then I went back. And the second time I came back is Mission Ganga, my second evacuation. I've never come back without evacuation until now.
He says that when tensions between Russia and Ukraine started back in Jan, he and his friends thought nothing much would happen, especially considering the COVID-19 situation.
But at somewhere in the back of my mind, I was worried about how things can go. But at the same time, we're like, okay, fine, it might never happen. It started getting bad towards the first week of Jan when we started realizing, okay, things might go wrong. But when we spoke to the teachers and the locals and all of that, they were very much confident that US is just hyping all of this up. It's none of this is real.
But their fears, of course, did become real when Russia attacked Ukraine on the 24th of February. Tushar's flight back home by that time had already been booked, but for the next day.
Because all my friends had left by 23rd, and I was just hoping and praying to God, Putin just waits until March and then he attacks. I just want to get back home. And 24th early morning at 4:30, I get a call saying that Ukraine is under attack. And I said, please don't lie to me. I'm like freaking out. And the first thing, we opened the news channels. The local news channel, media channels were down. All their websites were down. And we had no credible source of information in the beginning. But as time progressed, half an hour, 1 hour, they started attacking the entire country. East to west, everything was attacked.
That's when he and his friends really felt scared. Their voices were shaky when they were talking to each other.
Then initially we started thinking maybe it was our fault that we didn't go earlier. But at the same time, it's our third year and we have a center exam which we have to give. And if we don't give that exam, we'll have to drop a year. So that is why we have to stick around for some time.
Later that day, on the 24th, they got a message from the Indian embassy in Ukraine that they have to stock up on food.
No one knew what is happening because at the same time, few of my friends were traveling to Kyiv to fly back to India. And Borispil airport was attacked that morning. And they were stuck in the middle of Kyiv, complete traffic jams. And a few of them are still in the Indian embassy back in Kyiv, which is really, really sad. They just went to go back to India and they got caught up in Kyiv. We went out. We had to withdraw all our money from the ATM. They said, don't keep money in the card because we don't know what's going to happen to the bank servers. So we first went and there was a long queue. Every ATM had 15, 20 people waiting to withdraw all their money out. So that happened. So we withdrew all our money. Then it was panic buying for a week.
And how hard was that to do?
It was hard. It was because we don't know what was the next step. When we're walking, we're looking at the sky. What if the plane comes? Where are we going to go? Like, it's a different feeling when you look at the sky and walk. You never do that. You look at the sky and you're like, what if a missile's coming? Yeah, it's very scary. I mean, I have no words to describe how scared everyone was.
And what happens after that, after you guys stock up food?
So that night we stocked up food, and then a few of my friends were in the hostel. I told them to come over to my apartment because I felt we were safer there, and it gave us all courage to stay together. Next day, early morning, they said there might be a plan for an evacuation. There was no confirmation, nothing given from the embassy as well. 45 minutes before we were evacuated, we were given a notification saying that you're being evacuated. There was a list of students, not everyone was selected. There was a list of students whose names came out and they said, we have 45 minutes, pack your bags, leave.
What all did you pack?
My essentials, whatever I needed the most, my clothes, maybe just a few things. I didn't have much to carry. I left most of the things behind. And then we were taken to the border, which the crossing took a lot of time. We were there for 8-9 hours.
Though they had to wait, Tushar and the people with him were lucky. One, because the border was just about 30 kilometers away from where they were, and two, because during the last stretch, they had a police escort to help them reach the border, which was provided by the Indian embassy.
So we went there, we had our embassy officials there, and even the Ukrainians are there. Everyone wants to get out, right? It's not like only they are like, we want to get out first. Everyone wants to get out first. So everyone's like raising their hands. Women with children are given priority first. Then buses from Romania came into Ukraine to pick us up so that we don't have to stand and wait in the queue. And then we sat in the bus and our passports were taken. The process was done and then we were given back the passport. But we sat in the bus for a while.
He says that after all that wait, boarding the flight came as a huge relief.
As soon as we were pushed back to take off, everyone was clapping, everyone was happy. It was a very different feeling. It actually felt like, we're being saved. We're getting out of a big situation.
And did you manage to sleep on the flight?
No, I haven't been able to sleep at all since 3 days.
When we spoke to Tushar, he was still processing what he was feeling. He was relieved, but also overwhelmed and worried about his friends who were still stuck in Ukraine.
They've been there for 18, 19 hours, no food, no water, nothing, because you don't get anything on the border. And it's just chaos. Apparently what I've heard is there's no embassy official as of now who's come yet. So they're just waiting for the embassy official to come down.
This is what people like Ashok, who we heard from earlier, have been going through. They have been waiting to get rescued, board a flight, and clap and cheer just like Tushar did.
I mean, there are a lot of people who are stuck still. There are a lot of people in the bunkers and there's no food and it's getting bad. It's getting really bad. So all I can say is we can only hope and pray they get back safe, because when they drop a bomb, it doesn't choose who it's going to kill and who it's not going to. So yeah, I have friends who've been sleeping in bunkers, who've been sleeping in the railway station. It's not a great view.
While working on this episode, we had tried speaking to some other students as well. This included a man named Aruj, who has been stuck in Kharkiv, the same city where Anna is stuck as well. He has been staying inside a bunker at his hostel with a group of people who, just like Anna, are slowly running out of food and desperately waiting for embassy officials to come and help them.
Indian government have to take responsibility. They have to show the power. This is the time to show the power. This is the main day they have to work for. This is the time they have to show that what Indian government is. They have to take it on their ego. Otherwise, we can't do anything. After 3-4 days, we are just nothing to tell what happen with us. This is the time whatever they can do. Because sir, always there is outside there is fighting always happening. We are helpless here. We are waiting for always embassy and government updates. They are telling But in our city, Kharkiv, we are so far. Just always telling, we have to do as soon as possible. We have very less time left.
You were listening to Three Things by The Indian Express. Today's show was written and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava, and was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it, share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.